On the face of it, there is sharp disagreement about whether annuities are good or bad. Predictably, life insurance industry spokespeople like Tom Hegna are effusive in their praise of annuities. On the other hand, people who come from the investment sector, like Ken Fisher, can often barely restrain their expressions of extreme disapproval. Headlines can be multiplied, both for annuities and against them. I started off with the idea of making a pro and con video. I've done a couple of these recently. For example, the pros and cons of buying children's insurance policies or taking your pension in a lump sum. But in the process of investigating annuities, I found something that actually legitimately surprised me. Would you believe that there is one type of annuity that annuity haters and annuity lovers both agree on? To appreciate this information, though, it might be helpful to do a brief review as to what an annuity is. Most basically, an annuity is a financial product offered by insurance companies that is sometimes described as being the opposite of life insurance. With life insurance, an insured person is protected against some kind of financial fallout in the event that he or she dies too soon. Life insurance promises to provide a monetary benefit or death proceed to the insured's family or survivors, termed the beneficiaries. Annuities, on the other hand, protect a living person, called the annuitant, while he or she is alive. They do this by promising to provide the annuitant with a steady stream of income while he or she is alive to guard against the possibility of living too long, that is, outliving your retirement money. For this reason, annuities are sometimes referred to as longevity insurance. The situation seems to be confusing enough as it is. Part of the reason for this confusion is that annuities are often called upon to perform two different functions. Number one, annuities can be used to accumulate or grow funds, usually for retirement, but possibly for a number of other purposes as well. This function of annuities is referred to as the pay-in function, and I'm going to refer to annuities that perform this function as accumulators. Number two, annuities can also be used to take a lump sum of money that's already been accumulated and turn it into a steady stream of installment payments to be used as an income. Usually this stream of payments is supposed to be for a lifetime, starting at retirement, but it could be for other intervals instead. In other words, this second function of annuities can sometimes be thought of as turning an asset into an income stream. And annuities performing this function are referred to as payout annuities, and I'm going to refer to them as decumulators. Now, when something has more than one function, each of the two functions has to be assessed differently. Since an annuity can perform a pay-in function and a payout function, we have to be careful to both analyze and criticize each of these functions separately. Let me give you an analogy. Think of a household object that can have more than one function. So for example, aluminum foil can be used to cover food to keep it fresh. On the other hand, you can actually ball up a piece of aluminum foil and use it as a scouring pad to clean dishes. Or again, a toothbrush is obviously used to brush your teeth, but it can also be used in the bathroom to clean the grout in between your tiles. A tennis ball is obviously used to play the game of tennis, but it can also be placed on the bottom of chairs or walkers to prevent them from scuffing hard floors. Finally, petroleum jelly can be used to treat wounds, but it can also be used to lubricate door hinges. Now here's the point. Let's suppose that you think it's a horrible idea to use petroleum jelly to lubricate door hinges. You prefer WD-40 or graphite or paraffin wax instead. If you were to cobble together a number of criticisms against the use of petroleum jelly as a door hinge lubricator, those criticisms would have nothing whatever to do with the use of petroleum jelly as a wound dressing salve. Now this isn't to say that petroleum jelly should be used as a wound dressing. It's simply to say that criticisms of it as a hinge lubricator do not speak to the other function that it has. And the same would go with the other examples as well. You might think that Brillo pads make much better scouring implements than balled up aluminum foil. But even so, by itself, this criticism doesn't diminish the effectiveness or the utility of aluminum foil as a food covering. We're going to find that the same reasoning is going to have to apply to annuities. We might be able to criticize the pay-in function of an annuity. That is to say, we might have criticisms of the accumulator type of annuity. But that in and of itself does not automatically affect or apply to an annuity performing the payout function, or in my lexicon, the decumulator. Both of these have to be assessed on their own merits. Let me try and sharpen things up by making two additional points. Number one, every annuity is, or at least can become, a decumulator. It's like the annuity's special talent to become a decumulator. That's what makes an annuity, is the ability to turn a lump sum into an income stream. But two, not every annuity starts its life out as an accumulator. Many annuities do start off this way, and in fact, a few of them never actually become decumulators. But there's one kind of an annuity that has no accumulator function whatsoever. It is simply a pure decumulator, and that annuity is called the Single-Premium-Immediate-Annuity. Now, annuities are complex, and there are a number of other distinctions that could be introduced at this point, but I want to ignore all of those and focus the attention on only those two things, the pay-in function, or accumulation, and the payout function, or decumulation. And with that background in mind, let's revisit some of the articles that I briefly flashed on the screen in the opening of this video. What I'm interested in here is the question of what type of annuity is it that's favored or disfavored in each case. For example, what does the Wall Street Journal say? What kind of annuity is it that is part of the secret to a happy retirement? And the answer is an immediate fixed annuity. What annuity is it that's both immediate and fixed? It's an annuity that has no accumulation period, and it's an annuity that pays you a level income stream. In a nutshell, it's the single premium immediate annuity, also called a SPIA. So what annuity does the Wall Street Journal favor in this article? A SPIA, or what I've been referring to as the decumulator. What about Time Magazine? What kind of an annuity does Time recommend? Again, the answer is immediate fixed annuities. It's the SPIA again. How about life insurance proponent Tom Hegna? What does Tom Hegna recommend? He does distinguish between bad annuities and good annuities. But which ones does he rank among the good ones? Well, he arguably favors quite a few different types, but he singles one in particular out for special attention. And he names it. We don't have to guess about it. It's a single premium immediate annuity. SPIA. The quintessential good annuity, according to Tom Hegna, is the SPIA, the decumulator. But these are all arguably annuity lovers, right? What do the haters have to say? What about Ken Fisher? Ken Fisher is the high-profile investor who is well known, among other things, for taking out full-page newspaper advertisements reading, "I hate annuities, and you should too." Would you believe that Ken Fisher, as anti-annuity as he appears to be, expressly distinguishes between bad annuities and, well, let's read it from him directly. In his recent USA Today article, "Why I Still Hate Annuities," Ken Fisher writes, quote, "Note, I am not referring to simple, immediate, fixed annuities that convert one lump sum to income. Those can be okay, done right." Incredible, in the colloquial sense of the term. Ken Fisher gives a pass to the SPIA, even though he goes on to have very strongly worded criticism of accumulator annuities. He gives the decumulator a pass. Or consider an ostensibly anti-annuity piece from The Motley Fool. The title, "3 Reasons Annuities Are a Bad Long-Term Investment," betrays the fact that the target of the author's disapprobation is what I have been calling an accumulator, a pay-in annuity used as an investment vehicle. But the SPIA, recall, is a pure decumulator. It doesn't accumulate funds at all. You have to have the funds accumulated already in order to use the SPIA. So it's not a long-term investment in the usual sense of that phrase. That means that the Motley Fool's investment-oriented criticism does not touch the single premium immediate annuity. It's like somebody arguing that tennis balls should not be used on the bottoms of chairs or walkers. Even if this is so, it has nothing to do with the game of tennis. And of course, the game of tennis is the specific purpose of the tennis ball. Similarly, even if accumulator annuities are bad long-term investments, this says absolutely nothing about the SPIA because it is not an investment annuity. It is not an accumulator. Finally, the MarketWatch article, "Why Annuities Are a Bad Idea for Almost Everyone," really falls into the same category. Its main criticisms are annuities are terrible investments. They pay high commissions. They have poor fixed returns. And they have surrender charges. But make no mistake, all of these criticisms pertain to pay-in annuities. They pertain, if at all, to accumulator annuities, not the decumulator. They do not apply to the SPIA. The single premium immediate annuity is in a different category altogether. It's performing a different function. But don't take my word for it. I invite you to dive into these articles as well and see if you don't come away with the same idea. It's not uncommon for a publication to have an apparently anti-annuity piece one day and then have an apparently pro-annuity piece another day. So does this mean that various publications are flip-flopping on annuities? Not necessarily. Consider again MarketWatch, who we just saw published an article that was critical of the accumulator function of annuities. Well, MarketWatch has another article, and this one, titled, "This One Investment Move Can Give You Lifetime Yearly Income in Retirement." What is the move? A simple annuity, also called a Single-Premium-Immediate-Annuity, or SPIA, is a financial instrument that guarantees you a consistent monthly income as long as you live. So does this mean MarketWatch is being inconsistent? Not at all. It's simply the case that they both criticize accumulator annuities and they give guarded praise to decumulator annuities, or the SPIA. And this point is made clear by the MarketWatch author if you dig further into the article. We read, quote, "The SPIA should not be confused with the much more complicated, expensive, and much less useful annuities with other names, such as variable annuities or fixed income annuities." Let's do one more thing. Let's try a quick exercise. I'm going to go to a few more articles and see if this distinction between the accumulator and the decumulator holds up. So here's the Chicago Tribune. The article is "Retirement. Think twice about annuities in your plan." What's the complaint? Quote, "Many planners question whether an annuity is an appropriate investment for most 401k participants." Quote, "It could be a very expensive way to invest inside your 401k. So what is being criticized? Investment. And what is another name for investment? Accumulation. That's the point of investment, is to accumulate funds, to grow funds. So this anti-annuity article is not really an anti-annuity article. It is rather an anti-accumulator article. It's against the use of an annuity for one of its two functions, accumulation. But it doesn't say anything about the other function, decumulation. And I should point out as well that it's talking about investment in an annuity within the 401k. And some people would rightly point out that even if that's disadvantageous, accumulation in general may not be. But let's let that point go. On the other hand, there's another Chicago Tribune article. And here the author tells us, quote, "A common question I hear from readers is, how can I be sure that I won't run out of money in retirement?" End quote. And what is the one alternative to consider? A single premium immediate annuity, or SPIA. The article in question, by the way, is called "Single Premium Immediate Annuities Set Floor Under Retirement Income." So again, we find the Chicago Tribune this time criticizing accumulator annuities, but promoting, at least in a guarded way, decumulator annuities. Now here's one final illustration of this point. Consider this sympathetic piece from the self-styled white coat investor, so named because he is primarily a physician by training. In his article, literally titled "SPIA, the Good Annuity," he favorably appraises the decumulator. Another article titled "Product Allocation," white coat investor goes so far as to write, quote, "Everyone still agrees that purchasing a SPIA is a good idea for most retirees," end quote. Let me summarize. Annuities have more than one function, like tennis balls and aluminum foil. But criticizing one function, like the use of tennis balls as walker accessories, or the use of a toothbrush as a grout cleaning device, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the second separate function, like using a tennis ball for the game of tennis, or using a toothbrush to brush your teeth. And in the case of annuities, the two functions are the pay-in annuity, which I've been calling an accumulator, and the payout annuity, which I've been referring to as a decumulator. In many cases, like we saw with articles from The Motley Fool and MarketWatch, an annuity criticism is directed toward one function only, and we've seen it consistently applied to the accumulator annuity, the pay-in annuity. But this criticism is irrelevant to the second function of annuities, payout or decumulation. So criticisms of using an annuity to grow your money have nothing to do with the use of a single premium immediate annuity to generate an income for yourself in retirement. They're just two different functions. In other cases, like we saw with the white coat investor or Ken Fisher, both of whom arguably come from a position that is often referred to as anti-annuity, both of them give a pass to the single premium immediate annuity, or SPIA. So we see that many proponents of an investment approach are not really anti-annuity. What they're against is the accumulator. Finally, we took a look at articles praising annuities, like those from the Wall Street Journal and Time Magazine. And we saw that it wasn't just annuities that they were praising. They weren't praising all annuities. They were really only praising one annuity, the single premium immediate annuity, the decumulator. And this same product is also the focus of the life insurance spokesperson Tom Hegna. Of all annuities Tom Hegna expresses a fondness for, he singles the SPIA out for special approbation. Now, does that mean there's absolutely no questions left about the SPIA? No. So if you like introductions to some of the remaining questions, I invite you to see some of my previous videos and some of the videos that I have planned. Now, I do think that even after we've established this basic agreement, there are a few lingering questions. Number one, there is a lingering question about the mixing up of two very important terms, and those terms are interest rate and payout rate. Sometimes these are confused in people's minds, and in some cases, life insurance salespeople might purposely conflate the two. Number two, I think there's an interesting interplay between a mathematical consideration and a psychological one. So call this the probability factor versus the worry factor. But for the time being, let me put the bottom line this way. Of all the annuity types on the market, and there are a great many of them, one of them alone, the Single-Premium-Immediate-Annuity, or SPIA, deserves your careful attention, even if none of the other ones do. Now, if you found something of interest in this video, I do ask that you like the video, and if you'd like to see me dive into some of the follow-up questions that I just briefly surveyed, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you click the notification bell, you'll actually be alerted to new content as it becomes available. Either way, I thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video. Thanks a lot.